Hi, my name is Isabella, and today I will be covering the global impact of COVID-19. COVID-19 is a virus that comes from a family of viruses called the coronavirus. It is an infectious disease by one of the recently discovered types of coronavirus. It is now a pandemic affecting most countries around the world. This virus spreads from the person who contains the virus to others by small particles from the nose and mouth. These particles burst out when the person who has the virus coughs, sneezes, or speaks. People will catch the virus if they breathe these droplets in. That is why it is so important to stay away from others. These particles can also land on objects such as tables and other surfaces like doorknobs and handles. People could touch one of these items and then continue to scratch their eye or nose and easily get infected. The most common symptoms are fever, dry coughing, and tiredness of the body. Some cases have also experienced other types of pain. People with medical problems like high blood pressure, heart-lung problems, diabetes, cancer are at much higher risk of getting seriously ill and have less chance of recovering. About 80% of people recover from the disease without the need of hospital treatments, but about 1 of every 5 people who get the virus become seriously sick and develop having difficulty breathing, especially older people who need respirators to help their weak lungs. It may take 2 weeks, about 14 days, for your body to get over the illness. For those critical cases, recovery might take up to 6 weeks. First, you need to understand the nature of the disease or infection in order to develop a vaccine. Essentially, a vaccine is a mimic of the disease, since you need to understand the bacterium in order to create a vaccine that fights against it. There are 6 different stages in the process of making a new vaccine: the exploratory stage, the preclinical stage, the clinical development, the regulatory review and approval, manufacturing, and quality control. These are 3 stages that occur in the preclinical stage. Stage 1 is where the vaccine is tested in a very small group of people, sometimes can be as few as a dozen. This is helpful because doctors can focus on work on getting the dose right for the next steps of the process. Phase 2 are the trials where they test out the vaccine in a larger group of people. It can be up to 1 or 200 people, sometimes even in the thousands. This is so that doctors can research and they can see if the vaccines are being efficient or not. They also watch for any side effects that it could have. Phase 3 trials are conducted in areas where diseases are common. This is to test how the vaccine protects from people getting infected. These trials include even larger amounts of healthy volunteers. This is for about 10,000 or plus people. This is important because this helps doctors discover rare problems that might have not shown up in the smaller phase 2 studies. After vaccines are approved by regulators, they can be available for anyone to use. They could either be funded by national immunization programs or they could be purchased privately. This leads the vaccines process to phase 4 trials where doctors are encouraged to report side effects. This is where doctors start monitoring the vaccine's effect on a larger scale. For my implications, I chose 2 factors. I chose the environmental impacts and the economical impact. So for the first positive environmental impact, I chose that the lockdown has shown drastic changes and improvements to the air quality in India. The greenhouse gas emissions have dropped immensely in China. So this is a positive environmental impact, which says that according to the Latch.com, India's Central Pollution Board says that lockdown has resulted in a significant and positive improvement to air quality around the country. A recent report found a 33% improvement to air quality from March 16 to 27. Residents to the area are sharing how amazed they are to see these mountains that are usually covered by the air pollution. Many of these residents are seeing the mountains for the first time. They are posting the views from their backyards. One of them said, "Never could imagine that's possible. Clear indication of the impact the pollution has done by us to Mother Earth." The website also states that in China, and over a 4-week period, experts recorded a carbon dioxide emission drop of 1/4 of an estimated of 200 million tons. The Independent reports that it is around half the amount of CO2 Britain emits in 1 year, which is amazing news because it means that there are definitely ways that we can do to save our planet. This virus could be a way to teach us and for us to reflect that we are causing too much harm to our planet and that it is getting late before there is no turning back. My second positive environmental impact is that the Venice canals are clearer after the lockdown. So residents of Venice have started to notice that the canal's water has been getting clearer. The quality of the water is improving amazingly. This is because since the lockdown, the streets are clear for the first time in many, many years. Fish can be seen swimming through the waters, also dolphins and other species. Since the water traffic has dropped, the sediments from the canals have been able to settle down and sink to the bottom. That is why the water seems to be clearer. According to the Insider.com, the water now looks clearer because there is less traffic on the canals, allowing the sediment to stay at the bottom. A spokesman said it's because there is less boat traffic that usually brings sediment to the top of the water surface. Now I'll be talking about negative economical impacts. So the first one is the unemployment that has increased globally since the global pandemic. So according to moderndiplomacy.eu, the outbreak of pandemic COVID-19 all over the world has disturbed the political, social, economic, religious, and financial structures of the whole world. World's topmost economies such as US, China, UK, Germany, France, Italy, Japan, and many others are at the verge of collapse. Besides, stock markets around the world have been pounded and oil prices have fallen off a cliff. And just 3.3 million Americans applied for unemployment, and a week later, another 6.6 million people have started searching for jobs. This is thrilling because these people were definitely not prepared for these kinds of changes. The tragedy of this is that the majority of these people work for what they could eat for that day. If they don't sell anything, they won't have anything to survive. Many of these cities in the United States are not designed to close. For example, Las Vegas. With the global lockdown, they're not receiving any tourists, which means that the whole state is devastated economically because their main source of income is tourism. People are not allowed to travel, so they have to close their casinos, hotels, shows, concerts, etc. My second negative economical impact is that the COVID-19 has impacted the U.S. stock markets and economy. So according to the marketrealist.com, COVID-19 has taken a toll on the U.S. and global economy. U.S. stock markets finally entered their longest bull market in history amid coronavirus fears. At the beginning of this outbreak, President Donald Trump said that it was a health crisis, not a financial economical crisis. But currently today, this pandemic has resulted to be way more of a financial crisis. COVID-19 has impacted the US's economy and its stock markets greatly. All of these people who have made inversions on the airline companies, hotels, etc., have lost an immense amount of money. This coronavirus situation has made history on how low the stock market stats have ever been. Now, we have to suggest an action that could lead to a solution to the problem or issue, and we have to evaluate if the suggestion might help any possible problems. So I will be discussing different weaknesses and strengths from each suggestion, and this is kind of my conclusion about the pandemic. So my first suggestion is that we could start buying products created or manufactured by small businesses from your area. For example, my friend that is in 9th grade, she started her own beauty company and she's making her own natural products. She started small at home, and this is a very good idea because this can start like a help chain where you and your family could focus on helping those that most need the money right now. This is a system called collectivism, and the quality of the products are usually better or healthier than the ones that you usually buy that come from larger companies that produce their products in big factories. Usually these products are more expensive because it takes more money to make a product from scratch, especially those people that want to become successful entrepreneurs. Their businesses start small at home with the things that they already have. And suggestion number 2 is that governments should keep applying restrictions, especially on the weekends, to help reduce the amount of carbon dioxide emissions and greenhouse gases that are produced by automobiles, buses, and trains, etc. This is a great idea because it is evident that the lockdown has shown how much us humans pollute our planet every day. In just a couple of months, because of this outbreak, the CO2 emissions have gone down vastly, which proves that we need to start applying some of the restrictions that have been applied during these times of crisis. We should consider continuing on doing them because they have shown amazing results to the air and water qualities around the world. And some of the weaknesses is that oil producers and petroleum companies lose in these type of situations since people would not demand and would not buy from them. Many countries around the world depend on the production of oil, so their economies will be seen devastated. And these are my resources. Thank you so much for watching and for paying attention to my presentation.